Hey, welcome back, or should I say welcome in general to Big Waves, a crypto show residing in the world of the esoteric, the spiritual, the positive, the uplifting, the otherworldly, whatever you want to call it. The goal is to step a little bit outside of the norm. Perfect for today's first guest ever, Christian. How are you doing, man?
I'm well. How are you doing, Jesse?
Good. Hey, by the way, let's just not skip over the co-host. You met Christian in Bali, Leanne.
Yeah. We were at a bit of a traders gathering and Christian and his cousin and I hit it off and we've been friends ever since. So, yeah.
I got the chance to meet Christian through Leanne when I was in Bangkok a couple weeks ago. And we hit it off. It felt like just the other day, but here we are. We're doing the show. And this was just a concept not too long ago. So why don't we start this off with you giving us a general description of what you do and tell the crowd what's going on.
I'm a day trader slash long-term investor. I've dabbled in some VC investments and transitioned to this lifestyle and career in the last 6 years. I specialize in Ichimoku system, mainly just daily candle close trading. And then, I dabble in some different scalp setups and some Gann timing stuff. So, yeah.
And he's going to be discussing something called Gann Theory. This is actually the first time I've ever even heard of it. But it sounds like Christian swears by it. Can you just give us like a Gann Theory for dummies type of description for us, Christian?
Gann Theory is a way of using price and time together to find really high probability trades. In a nutshell, that's what it is. And there's a lot of different methodologies. It can get quite intense. It can get quite involved and complicated. I try to keep it as mathematical and as straightforward as possible because you can use different astrological terms, but realistically, you're talking about math. You're talking about the geometry of a circle. You're talking about the geometry of the Earth. Basic example, the moon went from Aquarius to Pisces. Like it moved 30 degrees. Like that's a math way of doing it. And then you're boiling out, the astrological associations of, I'm Aries, I'm Pisces, all this sort of stuff. So like you can really bring it to a point where it's a lot more digestible. So yeah, it's a way of timing the market from a macro or a micro perspective and finding really high probability, high value price points to take advantage of.
I'm under the impression that there is a bit of, let's just say, celestial approach to all your methods.
Yeah, definitely. Like from a timing perspective, there's some astrological techniques and stuff you can use to time markets. The more experience you get in trading, especially from like a Gann perspective, you realize that time's more important than price, which might sound like somewhat absurd, but time is a lot more important than price because when you look at the X and the Y axis, everyone's like, price. And we're so emotionally attached to price, but time is way more important, which is, it's almost a paradox. But W.D. Gann, he was a dude, he was born in Texas in 1876. His father was like, I think, a Protestant pastor and stuff. But anyway, he like read the Bible, X amount of times before he was 20 or whatever, and he was convinced that the Bible was written by perhaps astrologers. There's a lot of symbolism to astrological movement in different chapters and verses, and that's what he sort of came to. And he, through his own self-reflection and study, he became a genius, really, and very, very unique individual and stuff. So I don't want to make him a guru or anything, but he's a very intelligent man. So his techniques still ring true today, and they ring true in every different sort of market. It doesn't matter if it's Forex or stocks or crypto or anything. They can be very basic timing strategies and different techniques that you can use. It's just really incredible to see them work over and over and over again. So
yeah, and just things like on TradingView, if you've ever messed around with it, there's the Gann fan and lots of tools. And I've never looked into it, and that's why I'm so fascinated that you actually use these tools. And I'm sure there's quite a few traders out there that do, but you were the first person I met that was quite knowledgeable about how to integrate that into trading. So I believe you have some really cool projections to show us, and they're quite relevant at the moment considering what's happened in the news with SBF.
Yeah, I made some charts just I was going to just premise what we're speaking about today in regards to 360 bars or 360 degrees. So like, it's a fancy way of saying 1 year, right? So astrologically, if you do a natal chart or your birthday, technically you'd say natal chart. Natal chart is just the sun position of a date. So like, I don't know, if it's your birthday and you're Aquarius, the sun was in Aquarius, and it's going to be a certain degree. And in the zodiacs as well, basic, right? Aquarius, it goes 30 degrees. There's 12 zodiacs, 30 and 12's 360, so it's put on a circle. Yeah, I found it really interesting today that it's the 7th of November, and it was exactly 360 bars or 365 days ago that it was CZ that he made that tweet saying that he was going to liquidate FTT token. When he liquidated FTT token, it was like a day before the lunar eclipse on the 8th of November, and like within 51 hours or 30 degrees of the moon just transiting that event, SBF pretty much admits 51 hours later on the 9th of November after the eclipse that he's been talking to Binance, and Binance is going to acquire FTX pending due diligence. So it's a really interesting way to frame these different techniques from an archetypal human perspective, but you can actually use this from the perspective of just timing markets and timing charts. And also on that same date last year, on the 8th of November, there was a T-square with Saturn and Uranus. And I'm not going to go into specifics around, I don't know, the characteristics of those planets, but it's like a square, 90 degrees, it's a hard angle, and then you have like the influence of the eclipse on top of that. So yeah, when these events happen, it's like the major archetypes, planetary bodies above, they almost like hijack or create masquerades of men, and these fraudulent, corrupt situations happen. It doesn't happen all the time, right? Like we just had a lunar eclipse in October, but it's really interesting to like watch these events from an astrological perspective and see what happens, because that was obviously the liquidation event that brought in the low for Bitcoin November last year. The timing of this video coming out, it's like it's 360 solar degrees, so like it's interesting timing, right? That CZ, he done this tweet almost a year ago, and yeah, these events have already played out within 360 degrees. Like SBF, he's convicted for 7 counts of fraud. And it's also like when we get into the market side of things, if you measure 360 solar degrees or 365 days or bars on a daily chart from a high or a low, you see bottoms and highs come in. And it's such a basic, easy metric that you could use. I don't know, if you're a long-term investor, from a macro standpoint, it's just an easy timing metric. I was exposed to like these different sorts of timing things and stuff when I was a lot more of at the apprentice stage of being a trader, and it just washed over me. It's like my ego was like too big, and it's just like, fuck off, I'm not waiting 360 days. Are you crazy? Like I want to trade the 4-minute chart or something. Like this sucks, but it's just time and patience. Like those are the two biggest worries, time and patience. Like that's my mantra. It's like if you're patient and you respect time, like the market will come to you, because people who try to push around the market get 7 counts of fraud against them, perhaps.
If you want, you could give us a little bit of a peek into some of the stuff you're talking about.
Alrighty, yeah, I can do that. We've got a clean chart of the Bitcoin monthly here, and I use an index of Gemini and Coinbase. You can add these two different tickers together. If you like, Coinbase does that, and you divide it by 2. But anyway, it's measuring all of the Bitcoin volume that institutions have exposure to, like Gemini and Coinbase. They can, US markets or institutions can buy it through them. So I think it's a good medium to track volume. So yeah, because Bitcoin was invented in 2009, you always run into this problem that there's not enough data. So I've measured back 178 bars, and I've got like this vertical line here, and that's the natal date. That puts it to like January 2009. So tying in what I was talking about with the eclipse earlier, the 360 bars or degrees methodology, you can use that on any market on any time frame. So if you measure 360 monthly bars, it almost comes out to 30 years, right? What I want to reiterate in this method is that you're counting 360 bars. And the only reason you're counting 360 bars is because men, women, we live our experience is geocentric, and we go through seasons, and we're living on the earth. So like these seasons is different harmonics of the sun's movement. 360 is just a really important way to count markets. Like you can count it from a dynamic high or low, or a static point of birth or natal chart. So like the first block for Bitcoin was January 3rd, 2009. And then in other markets, if you were trading Amazon, for instance, you'd use their IPO date. Or if you're using, other people use methods like they use 1776, like when the United States got independence, they might use that for, I don't know, the Dixie or the Dow Jones or what have you. Alrighty, so I've got this box because the tools on TradingView, they're in decimal points. It's aesthetically not pleasing, and it can be quite confusing. But anyway, this is measuring 360 bars. If I get the measuring tool, you can see that it's 360 bars. So each one of these is 45 bars of movement. And also, I hadn't mentioned before, a 30-year cycle is a Saturn conjunction, and it's a Saturn return. So I'm talking about 360 months. That's one way of like timing, or you could say a Saturn conjunction if you wanted to be, I don't know, all mythical and spiritual and shit. But I like to boil it down in a language that can be somewhat digestible. Because if I say Saturn conjunction, like, I don't know, people may roll their eyes in their head. So anyway, back to the technique. So yeah, there's 360 bars, and this is like a Gann fan. This is a way that you can measure the velocity of the market. So what I was saying at the start of the video was time is more important than price. When there's a certain amount of time that passes in the market, collectively there's enough interest and volume that goes into that asset, and then it gets revalued in the market. So what's really, really interesting is that this line here, that's moving at $100 per month for Bitcoin's history, right? So $100 per month from the last bull cycle, we hit that, we found resistance, and then we broke it, and then we went up to this angle, which is the 4x1, and the 4x1 is representing the market's velocity, and it's gone up to $400 per bar at that time. So anyway, like from a timing perspective, back here, back at the high, November 2021, we're moving at $400, which was extremely fast, and there was other technical analysis you could use to perhaps have timed the top on that. So price ended up revisiting $100 per degree, and then if you measured from the natal date, so this is, I'll get rid of that. This is 166 bars. So basic math, 166 times 100 is 16,600. So if I bring in the time is price, this is how I'm using the methodology of the time is price. Price and time square out because we came down, I think we made a low of $15, but at month 166 we came down to 16,600, and we're around that spot, and we've found support on that $100 angle, and we've bounced from there. So that's a perfect square out in time and price.
So that time you could predict from the height of the last cycle.
It's not necessarily at that point of time of the monthly cycle I knew 100% that it was going to go there. But when price and time like synchronize so much like that, when these things appear, it's just such a value buy. It's so valuable. So I remember me and Rick were in Peregian Beach, and we were watching these things come in, and it was just sort of like it was a fairly easy, straightforward trade, like 16.5 to 17,500, and we're thinking we're coming into 180th bar. So like these major angles, Bitcoin's coming up to be 15 years old. So it's a long period of time, 45 bars, and we're coming into the 180th bar, which is 50% in time. It doesn't necessarily mean that price is going to appreciate further because it's 180 bars, but Gann methodology and Gann traders would say that 180 bars or 50% in time is a ripe time for change of trend. So the rapid amounts of appreciation that you can see after the 45th bar, it's a way of measuring logarithmic expansion in a sense. You'll see things just appreciate by 10x. It's like 45 months of collective awareness or collective interest from the market and participation in that asset. This logarithmic expansion will happen, and the decimal points just will expand, and it's super interesting. That reminds me of like the Amazon chart. You can keep on revaluing it and expanding out the velocity of the market, and the timing techniques are just something else.
I know the viewers want to know that based on the velocity and speed that you've been talking about, where do you see Bitcoin in the future? And I know there's been a lot of numbers that have fly around on Twitter and this and that, but where do you see it with the methodology that you use?
Great question. I think I don't really know. Like, no one really knows. That's the first point. I have no idea where the price will go in the future. But I think from a really base perspective, I think 144,000 is definitely doable, and that's the Gann fan angle moving at $400 per degree. So that would take price up to 144. I like a top around September 2025. That's what I'm thinking, and I base that on. I was just speaking about quintiles and stuff before. I base that on like a pattern that's happened the last two times, like geocentric Mars around 216 degrees every second cycle. Bitcoin's topped out at that level, so I find that's interesting. It doesn't mean that's 100% the 100% fact that that's going to be the exact time, but I like September 2025. There's always there's always the apocalyptic Bitcoiners or crypto people in general. Like, I think we can sort of get distracted by, I don't know, the US dollar will collapse or world war this or whatever, and there's going to be a bank run on all the Bitcoin or what have you. But I think markets are a lot more methodical and chilled, and they just move at their own pace. So I really like 144. That's what this Gann fan angle moving at $400 per weekly bar, because we moved down to the weekly before, and the 360 bar count that comes in like October, November on this particular one. So anywhere around 144 from September, November 2025 is quite possible. And then it depends on how things play out. There's a lot of news and there's a lot of chat. It could get a lot higher than that. I think 144,000, 150,000 is a reasonable level that Bitcoin will approach in this next halving cycle. 144 is extremely significant. W.D. Gann's he quotes himself. Well, the quote is that it was his biggest discovery, and 144. It's a biquintile. It's a quintile. It's a Fibonacci number. it's there's 1,440 minutes in a day. It's a rabbit hole in itself, 144. There's so much about it. And it's really interesting for me as well, because just from a timing perspective, the 4-minute chart, every 4 minutes the Earth rotates 1 degree. Yeah, there's so much about that number. If you look at it from Satoshi Nakamoto and the engineers of Bitcoin, it's super interesting, just from the way that they engineered Bitcoin, because it's a block reward every 10 minutes, right? So there's 144 blocks every day. 144 is a really, really interesting perspective in harmonics and maths and a whole lot of different geocentric movement and harmonics and everything else.
The power of numbers, to a layman, you're talking about planets and moons and celestial bodies. And then I feel like it's over here, we're talking about numerology, for a lack of a better word. And upon first glance, I don't even know the connection, other than the fact that it's all math, and math is the language of the universe. How is the numbers and the planets connected in any way?
It's really interesting. I know Louise von Franz has a book, and it was a difficult book. I didn't read it all, but it talks about time and number, and I think it's an attempt to marry in the symbols of numbers to the collective unconscious. And yeah, like she's obviously, I think, the smartest student of Jung. But yeah, like it was a hectic read. It almost comes to a perspective where trying to throw linguistics or words over the top of what it is just like, it's a mystery, right? Like you can't really demystify it. It's sort of like once you learn these concepts and stuff and you apply these concepts, they happen. And I don't know why they're happening, but they happen, and it gives you goosebumps. And it's like, it is somewhat occult. It's somewhat like you're an anthropologist, I don't know, walking through the ruins of the pyramids, right? All of these things tie into each other. And I suppose that's what using these things and being aware of these things and seeing them work and seeing them, I don't know, print you a paycheck is something else. It's
and I think on a basic level, traders use Fibonacci all the time, and just on the most basic principle in trading, we use Fibonacci levels for projections, retracements, and this is just another application of it, right? Of numbers and nature.
There are things that I do outside of the crypto world that bridge into the realm of unexplainable, especially to the uninitiated, if you will. I can respect and understand what you mean about some things are almost better left unspoken about. I mean, it's there's a level of just faith and trust and intuition and all of that mixed in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super interesting. Like you can learn about this stuff for the next 10, 20 years nonstop, and you'll just keep on finding more synchronicity, more. You're just assimilating it, and you're being impressed and shocked every time that it just marries up. And I'm sure I know like JP Morgan, right? The famous quote is millionaires, what is it? It's like millionaires ignore astrology, billionaires don't, something like this.
Christian, I have a question for you. The indicator that I've been creating since I began trading, I've just merged a lot of ideas, and there was a simple moving average that I use, and it's the 231. And Brandon Kelly that originally used that I've adopted into my trading style, the 77 and the 231, which are simple moving averages. They've formed the basis of me finding my setups. And I wondered if 231 was of any significance, because I actually don't know. It's just something I've always used and they work.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that indicator and stuff, and straight away my head is 89 plus 144 is 233. So it's almost a fib number, like 233. It's 2 bars or 2 days away from a fib number. Okay. So I know with different timing things and stuff like that, Gann would always say 1 or 2 days. So like it's virtually like it's very close to being a fib number. which I find pretty interesting. So, yeah.
Cool.
Do you see yourself, Christian, utilizing any of this information outside of crypto?
Yeah, I've dabbled in different things. There's different people on Twitter that have different spins on astrology and markets, and then from a more personal standpoint in that, I do try to boil it down to the maths and the harmonic side of things, because in the Gann community, I guess if you'd call it that, I do think that there's a lot of teachers that I think a lot of teachers can get into the worship, and like they're looking for the tribal father, and they almost like try to dress up as the guru, and they take it too far on like the occult association side. But me personally, like I'm still open to that, and I think there's merit in it. But at the same time, I try to keep shit real, bro.
Christian, it's been so wonderful having you give us a very brief synopsis of some of the strategies you use, and I'm sure we'd like to hear from you again about that and elaborate a bit more. But I'm really interested, and I know Jesse is too, in the mind and life of a trader, because often it's very robotic. We talk about price and do all these pressing buttons and do. But I want to know a little bit about you. How do you find life as a trader dealing with personal relationships? Does it sometimes affect? I know you've got a son and a partner. Is it challenging at times in relationships?
I think life is probably a bit more challenging. Like there's different variables. We recently moved to Bangkok from Australia and stuff, but for me personally, how I approach trading, I just know that I need separation. I can't work from home. I need my own space. And I really, really do love the ritual of ironing a shirt, putting up a button-up shirt and going somewhere. Like, the sooner I get out of, like, the house, the better. And especially now I'm a father. I love my son and Anna and stuff, no doubt. But it's really, really important for me as a man, in a sense. It's like, yeah, you put on your shirt and your shoes and you get your backpack. I almost feel like I'm putting on my armor and I'm taking out my sword and I'm going out to war, using that analogy, right? So I really like that ritual.
Absolutely. Can you tell the audience the moment you decided to make this a full-time career? Like, was there a pivotal moment where you just went, I'm not working on the mines anymore? What was that moment?
Yeah, so in 2016 I was working on Wheatstone, a massive Chevron gas project in Onslow in Western Australia. So I was working there, and I was a yogi, and my lifestyle was in somewhat of a conflict. But anyway, I got made redundant there, and I made bang money, and I'd worked in the mines for a period of time, but I made really, really good money, made some really, really good investments, and I went on my yearly 6-month pilgrimage to India, and those investments just grew. That was like 2015, 2016, and they grew, and I was doing my thing in India, Southeast Asia for like 6 months, and then when I was in the US in like 2018, like I went through that first bull market in 2017, made good money, and then I got really lucky. I bought an altcoin, it done really, really well. Yeah, from there, I just felt like I won the lottery, and I just knew within myself I didn't know enough, and I had to learn. And I went through some humblings and some different experiences, like acquiring a certain amount of money, and then from there, I just knew I had to start another apprenticeship, so to speak. So, I used 2 or 3 different mentors around trading and stuff, and I put a lot of time and energy and effort into learning technical analysis. So yeah,
and I think a lot of people underestimate how much time it actually takes to master some sort of really good basis for trading. And I know, Jesse, you're quite fascinated by this, because I'm fascinated by you as an investor, what it takes to be really solid on what you're doing. And I know as a trader, I have many people, Christian, say to me, oh, but I can see what the charts are doing. I'm like, yeah, you looked at it after it did it. Hello. So getting that basis of knowledge that suits your personality is so important, having mentors. And like I said, I think people underestimate. You said 6 years. I'm about the same. I came in at the end of a bull market, so I'm kind of in my first 1.5 cycles, and I've had lots of humblings as well. And that leads me to the question, what has been one of your most humbling moments as a trader in the space?
I think one of my most humbling moments was, what year would have that been? I know the exact point in the Bitcoin chart. I remember the price action vividly. So I was in Sherbrooke, Canada, and I was like hanging out with my friend in Pascal, and it was like the first I was getting into leverage trading, learning, and then like I made a really, really great trade, and I made like a big amount of money in a short period of time. And then I suppose, Einstein says like the two biggest flaws of humans is like the exponential function and standards and deviations. So like when you get like a massive chunk of money in a small amount of time, it's just like, oh yeah, my trading plan, bro. Oh well, my trading plan, bro. It's like, do you follow like the three motifs of your trading plan? Like money comes, money goes. So I guess, the biggest humbling was I thought I had a robust trading plan. I thought I knew my strategy. Was I patient enough, and did I follow that trading plan? No, I didn't. And I made a trade before all of my terms were met within the trading plan, and I lost a large amount of money. I think I could even share the figure. It was like $15,000 I lost. That would have been, I was in Playa del Carmen when that happened, and it was a pretty big hit. It was a pretty big blow to me, in a sense of just being humbled. I was just like, man, you made a really great amount of money, and then you went through that euphoria, and then you just didn't like follow the basics. So, every action has an opposite or equal reaction. So I went back to the books and like I restudied that course material, and I went through and I knew step by step where I made that mistake. And I didn't trade, I think, for like maybe 30 days, and just went through everything and took that within my stride.
Leverage trading gone wrong. I mean, any trader that starts, when we start using leverage, I mean, there's like some amazing wins, and then you're like, my system works, until it doesn't. And I've had the same experience, and I remember exactly where I was, went to the dentist, 4 p.m, and I had a nice Bybit Ethereum wick just wipe out my nice, easy, long trade. It suddenly didn't work anymore. And you have to go back to the drawing board. And it's very painful, but if you're going to stay in this game for the long term, you have to just, get back to the books, stop.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, like 3 motifs before, and I think it might be, I don't know, somewhat useful to throw those in now. Like the 3 unbreakable rules of trading are you never risk more than 3% of your capital portfolio. And you never risk more than 3%, ever. You always want a risk reward of 2 to 1. Always. You want that at least, right? Win rate, of course. Why would I forget win rate? And then a win rate of 55%. So those 3 variables, like if you're doing that, it's 3 things, right? And I learned this 2 years into trading, and I ignored them, and I got humbled aplenty. These 3 guide rails are really, really important.
On a general term, just watch that greed.
Yeah,
Greedy monster.
Fear and greed, bro.
Oh, it's an ugly one. It's a really ugly one. Do you have any tips for new traders or people wanting to enter the trading game? Like, what would be your overarching philosophy for them, or something to take with them?
I think personality type's important. Like, we're all very different, and our time horizons are different. So, the subject of money, everyone views money differently, right? So some people are more inclined to think in 10 years. A lot of people in crypto, they want to be a billionaire in, 10 months. So it's personality type. Some people will be much more attracted to the macro and only want to risk a certain amount, and they're much more risk adverse. And then there's people that want to trade a 4-minute candle and make 30 grand a week or a month. So it comes down to personality type. So working that out can be quite challenging. So tips to work that out is, I think, experience. But yeah, like the biggest tips I can give, and they're super basic, it's just those 3 guide rails I said before. So like risk reward 2 to 1, never risk more than 3% of your portfolio capital. You want a win rate of 55%. If your win rate's below 55%, you're not following your plan. You need a trading plan. Build a trading plan. You need a trading plan. If you don't have a trading plan, like, you're not a professional. So yeah, that's what I think.
Brilliant. Now, I'd like to introduce, you're going to be our first guest that has the traders fast questions. Let's call them market buy questions, because you don't get to think, you just press market buy. No limit buys. Jesse, you on board with the market buy?
Now is the segment for market buy questions.
So tell me your favorite thing to observe on Twitter.
Market occultist.
Bitcoin or shitcoin?
100% Bitcoin.
Market buy or limit buy?
Limit buy 99% of the time. If you're not doing a limit buy, you're not a professional. I know there's trade setups that you can do a market buy, but maybe 1 out of 100 trades is a market buy.
Isolated or cross
Isolated.
leverage? The trade that changed the way you did everything.
The trade that made me change everything. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not sure.
There might be a 15K one, right? Favorite part about being in the space?
Bitcoin.
Best bet for the next 2 years?
Bitcoin.
Will you be accepting Bitcoin?
And lastly, what does freedom mean to you?
Bitcoin. Nah. Freedom means that I have... It's true. Bitcoin. Freedom means to me that I have ample amount of time to spend with my loved ones, my friends and family, and my partner. And yeah, I get to come to the office and choose what time I go to the gym, and yeah, have enough left over to provide for my family. So that's what I think freedom is. And Bitcoin, like Bitcoin hardware wallet. Hello, like.
Yeah, that's my Twitter name. Buy Bitcoin for your freedom.
Shit, yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Well, this is cool. I think this is real stuff. I mean, there's legitimate results coming from it, and as we said earlier, some of it's almost indescribable. And some of the most beautiful things that I've experienced in my life have been indescribable. So yeah, thanks for introducing us to this kind of stuff, and I'm interested to keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks, Christian. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that has been our show. Thank you guys for watching, and check out the short form video. It'll be on our channel, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.